Just talking about with regard to the AI train and how fast it's moving. Well, the Wall Street Journal reporting now that OpenAI is in the early stages of a fundraising round that could raise as much as $100 billion. At least that's their target at this point in time. And in this fundraising round, which is at its early stages, they say it could value the company at as much as $830 billion. This is according to people familiar with the matter, and the information also earlier reported some details of OpenAI's latest funding efforts. But of course, this would be a key test as to how much capital is still out there to fund this AI build out and at what price if it ultimately comes to pass. But OpenAI seeking a new fundraising round that could value it as high as $830 billion. Melissa?
Okay, seeking is the key word here then.
I'm
Not
seeking
obtaining.
too.
Right. I'd love to seek $100 billion for an $830 billion valuation also, but it may not happen. Leslie, thank you. Leslie Picker.
Was it 750 yesterday?
I thought I had read 750. I mean,
I thought that I read that yesterday.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I mean, they need cash. That's not surprising, right? But it's interesting with it's such a black box from the outside, right? Nobody knows what's going on in OpenAI. And yet there are so many players that are a party to some sort of agreement with them. I would think there would be more clarity, more transparency, or a leak or something about the underlying financials there than there seems to be.
There's no incentive for them to leak anything.
When you're raising the money,
you're tied
you're gonna
to
have
the success of the company. I mean, if the implication is that a leak would disclose
we don't know. It could
that may not be as great as everybody thinks.
Possibly, right? There would be some concern about that, and yet they still are able to. I don't know. There's. I can't imagine how busy Sarah Fryer is. This is an extraordinary job as CFO.
When was the Code Red announcement?
2 weeks ago.
Was that only
isn't when you hear Code Red,
it doesn't go up in value?
How did we go from 500 billion to 800 billion since the last time they raised money?
The first raise this year was 150 billion. Then there was 300 billion. There was 500 billion just a month ago.
Five was the last one.
And that was when. How do you feel like if you're an insider, you're an employee, and you sold $6.5 billion at 500, and now they're what's that?
Well, it depends on what your
not
cost
if you just
is.
sold your stock. Insiders sold stock at $500 billion.
I understand.
A month ago.
What is your
They should be
basis,
pretty happy,
right? I would be pretty happy.
I think they're.
If OpenAI were a
itself.
publicly traded company, would it continue on a steady drumbeat higher amidst all of the skepticism about the AI trade?
No, look,
it would not.
The public markets.
It's completely
I've already told
disconnected
you
now.
what the view is on AI in the last month.
Right.
It's so in a world where there's no liquidity, the mark to market's very different. Private, and that, by the way, it saves a lot of people for themselves in private equity. It's one of the reasons why it is an asset allocation that makes a lot of sense for people. But I think we're all saying the same thing. I mean, this is hard to believe 2 weeks after Code Red.
Compare the two, right? So we have SpaceX and we have OpenAI, and there's not an infinite amount of money to be raised here. So if you look at, I find it interesting, you look at the valuation on both of them, they're both chasing the same dollars, and they both have to have that latest headline that's out to sort of gain the market's attention, because the market only pays attention to the last headline that they say.
Right. Well, if they don't raise the money, it could be lights out for a while here. They have $1.4 trillion in basically contracts out there. $100 billion, that's not going to be easy to do, up from, again, $50 billion a year ago to $800 billion. And I'll just say this. The information I had a story yesterday that Amazon is considering a $10 billion investment in OpenAI, and that they're going to get a 38